My name is Charles Gassar. I am the Director of Guidance here at Riverhead High School. Joining me tonight is Ms. Stevenson, our ENL Director, as well as Mr. Sean O'Hara, our high school principal. And of course, Mr. Ernesto Sanabria, who is helping us with translations tonight. Before we get started, I just want to make everyone aware that we just concluded the presentation for our 9th grade students, our current 9th graders, who we like to refer to as rising sophomores. This presentation, which we will take you through, we're starting a couple of minutes late. If we have to go over, we'll go over to make sure we get it all in and get all your questions answered. This is for our current 10th and 11th grade students and their families. So they would be rising juniors and rising seniors. And before I get too far ahead of myself, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Stevenson and Mr. Sanabria if they have some information about the translations. You're muted, Ms. Stevenson.
Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to let you know that this presentation is going to be live translated by Mr. Sanabria. I'm going to ask him to let our families know in Spanish how they can access the interpretation function. And please know that this function is not available on a Chromebook. You will need to use a device other than a Chromebook in order to access the Zoom translation function. Thank you, Mr. Sanabria.
Muy bienvenidos a las personas que hablan español. Para que sepan, vamos a tener una traducción simultánea en español. Pueden escoger el lenguaje en la pantalla. Es importante que por favor noten que esta traducción en vivo no funciona con dispositivos Chromebook, pero sí funciona con cualquier otro tipo de dispositivo. Muchas gracias.
All right, and we're going to start interpretation now. Thank you, Mr. Gassar.
Comenzamos la interpretación en este momento.
Okay, okay, so welcome everybody. The scheduling season is upon us. It basically kicked off officially this week. It is a little bit earlier than usual. And the reason for that is we want to err on the side of caution. Heaven forbid there's any type of interruption with instruction or anything that may come up due to the issues with the virus. We just want to give ourselves as much lead time as possible so we can prepare and make sure that our students get all possible opportunities and no one is left out of anything. So tonight, we are going to be talking about, to start off, graduation requirements. I always like to start off the scheduling meetings with these because it's something that we can never hear enough. There have been some changes with the state as far as Regents examinations. Considering you are families of upperclassmen, you're probably well aware of that. But if you have any questions, please put the questions into the Q&A where you can type in your question. And then as the program moves along, we will answer questions in the order that they come through. So there's no need to wait to the end of the presentation for your question. If you have a question about a specific slide, I would ask that you put it in and then Mr. O'Hara will monitor it. And then, he'll let me know that a question's come in and then we'll put it up and read it aloud so that all of our other viewers can hear it as well, because chances are they might be thinking the same thing or about to think that. Okay, so diploma requirements. These are not local requirements. And when I say local, I refer to our local school district. These are statewide New York State Educational Department or NYSED requirements. So the Regents Diploma culminates in 22 credits. That is a minimum of 22 credits. Most of our students are graduating with 28 or 29 credits. But in order to earn the 22 credits in New York State as a bare minimum, a student must complete and pass 4 credits of English. That means 4 years of English, each year earning them 1 high school graduation credit. 4 years of social studies. Now, social studies would be Global 9 in 10th grade, Global 9 in 9th grade, Global 10 in 10th grade, excuse me, U.S. History in 11th grade, and Social Studies 12, which for students not on an accelerated track would be a half year of economics and a half year of participation in government. Back in my day, we called that civics. They must also earn 3 units of math or 3 credits of math. So 3 years of math. And that is the same with science, 3 units of science courses, so 3 years of science. Students to get a Regents diploma need 1 credit of world language. Now, most of our students have already earned that credit coming out of the 7th and 8th grade language program, provided they passed both years and passed that checkpoint A exam, which is kind of like a Regents exam, but not officially a Regents exam. It's actually a locally developed Regents, exit exam. And when I say locally, I don't mean Riverhead High School developed. I mean a local downstate consortium of world language directors. And then the exam is sent up to Albany, and New York State Ed approves or disapproves, and then they approve it, and then our students take it, and they basically get the same rights and privileges that a Regents exam has, except it's not a Regents exam. So the consortium up in Albany is doing a different exam than the consortium downstate. The students will also need 1 year of art or music, 1 half credit or half year of health, 2 full credits of physical education, which is a half credit course. It meets every other day for an entire year. So what the state is saying is that students must take physical education each of the 4 years they're in high school. Students cannot double up on phys ed and say, well, let me take 3 phys ed classes in lieu of electives and get that out of the way. It doesn't work like that. They need to be enrolled in it each and every year. And students have room for 3.5 credits of electives. So that could be 7 half credit courses or 3 full credit courses and 1 half credit course. We can kind of slice and dice that any way we like. But at the end, the magic number is 22 credits. And New York State, being the only state in the country that subscribes to Regents examinations, those are our high school exit exams. But students don't take them at the end of high school. They take them throughout high school. So students, although they have to take 4 years of English, they must take an ELA or English Language Arts exam. And that is actually designed to be offered to them after the 3rd year of study. But because it's a 3-year course, New York State is rather liberal in when they allow us to offer that exam. So at Riverhead High School, we offer that exam January of their junior year. Okay. January Regents, by the way, have been canceled this year. We have not gotten any word on June or August Regents, but January is canceled. So the students will not be taking it in January. They will be taking it in June, okay, because it is a 3-year exam. So they're not giving an exemption for that. If anyone has any questions about exemptions, we can get into that in a little bit. The students need to take 1 Regents exam in math. That could be any of the 3 Regents that are offered by New York State. They would be Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2. Students need to pass 1 exam for Global History. That is the Global History and Geography exam. That is a 2-year course. However, that Regents is only pertaining to the 2nd year. So at the end of Global 10, they would be taking the Global Regents, and it would only be for the 10th grade year of study. Okay. And then in 11th grade, they would be taking the U.S. History Regents after completing the U.S. History course in June. And at any point along the way, they need to pass a Science Regents. And many of our students, as with the algebra, have already taken that Science Regents Living Environment back in 8th grade. But if they haven't, they should have taken it in 9th grade. And if they were not successful in 9th grade, they would be taking it at some point in 10th grade. Again, most of our kids are taking Living Environment to get that Regents under their belt, kind of the first one, kind of the path, the gateway exam, but it doesn't have to be. They could be taking earth science, they could be taking chemistry, they could be taking physics. But Living Environment, again, is the one that we recommend the students take. They seem to have the best performance on that. And then you'll see next to the Regents Diploma is the Advanced Regents Diploma. And interestingly enough, it still concludes with 22 earned credits. Okay, so English is the same. 4 credits, 4 years of English, 4 credits, 4 years of math, 3 credits, 3 units of math, and 3 units of science. Here is where one of the differences come up. World language. If you look at the Regents Diploma, it's only 1 credit. And again, most of our students, the vast majority, have earned that coming out of 8th grade, provided they pass 7th and 8th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade language, as well as pass the Checkpoint A exam. However, to get the advanced diploma, they would need 3 years of language. So how was it still at 22 credits? Well, because it comes right out of the electives. On the bottom, you'll see there were 3.5 credits for a Regents diploma. And for the advanced diploma, it's 1.5 credits. So those 2 credits that students would have taken with electives are now being applied to world language. Students must also complete and earn 1 credit 1 year of art or music during their high school career, as well as 1 half credit or 1 half-year course of health. Again, same requirement with physical education, 2 credits, that's 4 half-year courses. There are some differences, and this is a considerable jump in rigor for the Regents requirements from a Regents diploma to an advanced Regents diploma. Although it is the same with ELA, they take the English Language Arts Regents, they now must take 3 mathematic Regents exams. So they're looking again, taking the Regents in Algebra 1, Regents in Geometry, and Regents in Algebra 2. So that is a really big leap from simply passing the 1 Regents exam in math. They still have the same requirements for social studies, where they would need 1 global and 1 US history. And the other pieces are there are now 2 required Regents exams in science, as opposed to simply 1. And that turns into 1 life science and 1 physical science. The only life science Regents is living environment. Beyond that, they're all physical sciences. And that would include earth science, chemistry, or physics. So they need to pass 2 of those exams. And they need to pass the foreign language Checkpoint B exam, which would take place the June of their level 3 year, traditionally their sophomore year, their 10th grade year. Again, in the end of 8th grade, they took a foreign language Checkpoint A exam. Now they're taking the Checkpoint B exam. Not exactly a Regents, but kind of, sort of, maybe it kind of is. Basically, it has, again, the same rights and privileges of a Regents, in that the state recognizes it and it will bestow certain diplomas because of that. But they're made up by the local consortiums and not New York State. Okay, so it is not called a Regents, it is a Checkpoint exam, but it basically has the same weight of a Regents exam.
Okay, Mr. Gassar?
Oh, yeah.
Starting to get some good questions piling in. Boces, do you want to save Boces for a little bit?
We're going to get to Boces in like 1 more slide.
Okay, presentation. Will this be available online afterward, this presentation?
Yes, we'll have it up, if not by tomorrow. I'm hoping by tomorrow, but if not by tomorrow, certainly by the next morning.
Okay, so we're going to save Boces. If a child came from the charter school and took Spanish there, will that count as credits for a world language toward a Regents diploma?
It probably would. I would have to see exactly what they did. So I would, if they haven't had a conversation with their guidance counselor yet, or if they're a new entrant considering coming to Riverhead, I would have them reach out to me directly, and we can kind of drill down on that once we see exactly what we're looking at.
Okay. Now you had mentioned the global Regents. Is that the new global Regents for social studies?
Yes.
Okay. You said we could talk about exemptions. There's a couple of exemptions questions. Do students have to make up Regents exams from last year? And what about the math Regents that got canceled at the end of last year? How do they get the 3rd math Regents without that?
Okay, great questions. Yeah, and yes, I can answer all of them. Okay, what happened was last year, New York State Education Department recognized that because of the lapse of instruction, it was unfair and not equitable to mandate students to take Regents exams. Therefore, they put in a one-time exemption, which basically waived students from taking the Regents exams in June, provided they had passed the course. Now, if you had taken the course in the past and were signed up for a retake Regents, because we have students do that. They passed the class, they failed the Regents, there's no need to put them back in the entire class, so we put them in a half-year prep class. Those students would have gotten exemptions too. So not only did first-time test takers get the Regents exemption, but some students that were still working on passing the Regents but had taken the class a year or more earlier were also granted exemptions. One of the things we also recognize, and the state recognize, is that not all students want the exemption. Therefore, they may say, no, I don't want the exemption. I want the ability to take the exam when it's offered. And you will be granted that. We actually sent home letters right out of Mr. O'Hara's office in the spring of last year, and we will do so again this year if we are in the same situation. We don't know that yet. Whereby a student could basically pass on taking the exemption with the understanding that they will take it for a grade. Because once you accept the exemption, you cannot take the examination in the future for a grade. Okay. And then somebody asked about how the exemptions would work with the advanced diploma. The exemption does not harm a student. If a student had completed Algebra 1 and Geometry and passed the Regents and was enrolled in Algebra 2 and passed Algebra 2 last June, but didn't take the Regents exam because it wasn't offered and they got an exemption, that would be applied as a passing Regents towards an advanced diploma. And that would also go for a second science Regents that they might have been enrolled in.
And this question is similar. Will students that are going for the advanced Regents diploma that were supposed to take Regents exams last June that were canceled still have to take them, in parentheses, physics and geometry? I believe it's answered. Mm-hmm.
No, a student could have gotten an exemption. A student could have been in geometry last year. Let's say in 8th grade, I'm talking about like current 10th graders. If they were in 8th grade and they took Algebra 1 and passed, they got a numeric grade and a passing over 65. And then they took geometry last year and got an exemption. Okay. And now they're in Algebra 2. As of now, there's no exemptions for Algebra 2. So they would have to take the Regents exam in June. That may be subject to change, but that'll be decided by New York State, not by Riverhead School District. However, if they offer it, we will extend that to our families. Therefore, they would not have to make up the geometry. They would have a passing grade over 65 for Algebra 1, exemption for geometry, and then if the exams are offered in June, they would have to have a passing grade in Algebra 2. They would not have to make up anything they missed when they took an exemption.
How does Latin fit in with the language requirements for the advanced Regents diploma?
Well, we have extended our Latin program this year, so our students will have the ability to go through the level 3. And so we have a cadre of students that are still completing. We obviously had to, go through some changes. It was kind of last minute because we had an unfortunate departure of a staff member right before school started. But we did, try to pick up the pieces and put a program together for those students. So they will still have the ability to complete the 3 years of Latin and get that Latin 3 requirement done, and then take that CONI in addition. It's not called a checkpoint for the Latin. It's called the CONI exam, but it's a local consortium exam.
How do AP exams and classes count in the diploma?
AP classes count for high school course credit. The AP exam does not count towards high school course credit. The AP exam is financed by the families of the student taking it. So therefore, now if a student is part of our, let's just say, financial need contingent of students and would have been on free and reduced lunch, they would get a discount for the exam through New York State, Riverhead Schools, and College Board. But the AP exam does not show up on a student's transcript. That is their property. It's kind of like an SAT score or an ACT score. They pay for it. They own it. It's their business. We see the scores, but we do not share them with colleges. The students would do that. And it does not have anything to do with their final average. Now, you could be enrolled in an AP class, such as AP Language, which is the 3rd year English class. It is, I refer to it as the premier writing course out of our building. It's AP Language and Composition. That is the year that the students take the ELA New York State Regents exam. So This year, those students, when they started, were scheduled to take the January ELA Regents. Okay, that's when we ordinarily give it, but it was canceled. But because the students had not completed the course, because they won't complete the course until June, but we are allowed to offer that exam early to students, which we do. Because it is not technically completed until June, they are not being given exemptions. The plan is that provided the June Regents are administered as originally scheduled, the students will take the exam then. So a student that's enrolled in AP Language and Composition will take the Regents exam. They can't take it in January because they were canceled. They'll take it in June. And then the AP exam, they'll take about 3 weeks earlier in mid-May.
Okay, I was told that my children could earn an advanced Regents diploma if they took 5 art/music classes in substitution, and then just a couple of lines down, I think she means in substitution for 3 language classes.
Yes, yes, they can absolutely do that. There's a couple of different ways they can make up for that if they don't take the language sequence. It really isn't done very often, but I will let you know that I'm holding up here a copy of our course offering booklet. And this is available on our website, on the guidance webpage, on the left-hand side of the links, just click on course offering booklet, and we detail exactly how you can substitute sequences if you do not choose to go the route of the foreign language.
Is the 3 credits 3 years? If my child has taken a language since 7th grade, why does he still have to if his credits are finished?
I'm not quite following that. I will tell you this. 7th grade and 8th grade equal 1 credit. Okay, they're not 2 separate credits. I'm thinking maybe that's what you're hinting towards. So they would take 7th and 8th grade equals 1 year. That completes, let's just say they took French. That would complete French 1. Then in 9th grade, they would take French 2, and in 10th grade, they would take French 3. They would be taking the checkpoint exam at the conclusion of French 3. So it is a 3-year sequence, but they're only getting a 1-year credit for the 7th and 8th grade. They must pass both those years.
Okay, does the exemption apply to the language checkpoint B exam?
Yes and no. There is what they call a waiver. Because it is not technically a Regents exam, it is not called an exemption. It is called a waiver. And yes, it has applied last year.
Okay, 2 more, and then we go to Boces, which I'll let you hit later. Can you please explain why a student would not take the exemption?
Yeah, well, actually, no, I really can't. But I guess, people have different priorities and, different thoughts about things. And we are required by law to offer them the ability to pass on an exemption. Somebody may say, no, we know we're going to take that exam, come heck or high water, the next time it's offered, and we're secure that we're going to get a fantastic grade, and we don't want an exemption. Maybe they see it as a leg up. Maybe they see it as a way to distinguish or differentiate themselves. If it was my child, I would not go there. But again, not that I have the monopoly on great ideas. I don't. So that is something that they are offered. But last year, I don't believe we had any students take us up on that, even though they were all offered.
Here's another exemption one that just popped up. Would taking an exemption compromise some scholarship at a Suny school?
No. This is first of all, the exemptions are statewide. So everybody is on board with it. And every school district in New York State that offers Regents exams. I understand there's some private schools that don't. I understand that. But every public high school and most private and parochial high schools, most are offering the exemptions because the Regents are simply have not been offered last June. And I will also tell you this. this came up at the last session that we had. People were concerned about scholarship opportunities, about merit scholarships, not only in-state but out of state, and would they be at a disadvantage? And what I told them, and I will tell you, is that I run a couple of college nights. I will run an underclassmen college night for current 9th and 10th grade families in April, and in March I run a college night for families of juniors. Okay, and the focus, and I have guest speakers, and we're going to do that as planned. That's in the works. So stand by for information on that. And the whole focus of my college nights this year is, and not just hearing it from me, you will hear it from me, but also hearing it from admission representatives from different colleges about how the students, how they're going to be handling and how they're going to be evaluating student applications. And it's just important for everyone to understand, this is a worldwide pandemic. There's not a high school student in the country, or really in the world for that matter, that has not had some type of interruption to their academic experience. Colleges understand that. Colleges had interrupted experiences. And, one thing that I can put out there, the last couple of years, a lot of schools have moved towards test optional. And when I say test optional, that means they are no longer mandating that students submit ACTs and SAT scores. Okay. Years ago, that was unheard of, but it started up and it started to get some traction. Well, within the last year, pretty much every school, even those that do have mandated exams, waive the exams. They said it's test optional. If you want to send them and you have them, great. But we realized that tests got canceled. Kids got knocked out of certain exams, couldn't get registered for future exams. They realized the mess and the quagmire the kids were stuck in. So they modified, their requirements to fit the situation at hand. And I know that's going to continue. I talk to admission reps every week, and that is the underlying message that I'm getting from everybody. So I want to allay your fears as parents or students, and we are going to really be diving deep into that at our college nights. And we do one for the juniors in, as I said, that's going to be in March, and then we'll do the underclassmen in April. So you'll hear not just from me, but also from guest speakers.
If a student is full remote, how will they take the Regents?
If the Regents are offered, the student would have to come into the building to take the exam. Depending upon the student's situation, we would, if somebody had a situation that was not possible, they would write a letter to our building principal, Mr. O'Hara, and then he would bring it to me and we would discuss possible options. Most of the kids would come in and take it. We would have them in a single, separate, supervised, socially distant environment. But in case that was not possible, we would find a remedy that all parties would find acceptable.
Just a question that's just popped up. So the juniors will still be test optional for the colleges?
As of now, that's what I'm hearing. I mean, each college is different, but every week more and more and more schools are going in that direction. Look, they realize this is out of students' control. They realize that they've got kids, being purged from their admission rolls because of family situations, virus complications, illness, finances, and they realize they need to be flexible. And we all need to be flexible. I have no doubt it will not be a problem for the kids. Now, it's test optional. What that means is if you took the test and you wanted to submit it, they'll accept it. But it's kind of no harm, no foul if you don't, because they understand that usually students like to take those exams more than once. And now they haven't had that opportunity to do so. So they have to kind of, amend their requirements, and they've all been doing that, and they're very upfront about it. And I mean, if there's a specific school that someone's interested in, you can go right on their admission website, and they're proudly posting this information to make everyone realize that they're user-friendly.
Okay, then we're going to go to some Boces and some dual enrollment. So if you want to just. Okay,
so let's talk about admission guidelines at Riverhead High School. At Riverhead High School, we refer to them not as admission requirements for most courses. We refer to them as guidelines, because our philosophy is that we are not the gatekeeper in telling a student they can't challenge themselves to take a more rigorous academic experience, even if their performance has not been at the level that we would recommend them into that course. Meaning, yes, our guideline is if you're in a Regents course and you're looking to challenge up to go to an honors course, we'd like to see you with an 85 average. If you want to stay in the honors course, we'd like to see you with an 80 average. However, that doesn't mean that we're going to turn our back on a student with an 80 average, or maybe a student below an 80 average, but that had some situations that precluded them from getting the type of grades that they were capable of getting. So I guess what we're saying is we try to be reasonable and we try to work with our students. Now, if I have a student who is failing a class or close to failing a class that's Regents level and wants to move up to an honors or AP level, I'm going to meet with that student. The guidance counselor is going to meet with that student. We're going to have a parent conversation. And unless there's something exceptional going on, chances are we're going to counsel that student out of that. We don't want to set someone up for failure, but at the same time, we don't want to take an opportunity away from anybody either. But we want to have a frank and honest conversation. And what we're going to make, if a student is persistent and commits because they want to go into a course that we do not believe they are necessarily prepared for, we're going to agree upon a plan where they have an exit ramp. They have a back door. So they're not caught halfway or halfway through the first quarter or at the end of the first quarter, and they're in a course where nowhere to go. And now it's going to just be a miserable situation where they're going to fail. It's going to be stress on the teacher, stress on the student, and stress on the entire family, and stress on the guidance counselor, because now we're worried about graduation requirements being fulfilled. So if we're going to go beyond what our performance really says we should be, we need to have a discussion and we need to have a plan in case it doesn't work out. And hopefully we never have to exercise that plan, but in case it does, I want to make sure that student's graduation path is still protected. For AP courses are courses that are taught inside the high school. The curriculum is written and authorized by the college board, and the teachers are all credentialized by or certified by the college board to teach the course. But they're Riverhead High School teachers. They're not college professors, but they're teaching an incredibly, incredibly rigorous course. In order to go into those courses, if you're coming out of a Regents class, we want to see you with a 90 average. If you're in an honors class, we really want to have you with an 85 average. The truth is, I do have students that are in an AP class that are running a 75 average. You know what? Maybe the work is just too much for them, but they are committed. And so long as they're doing the work, they're not disrupting the class, and they want that AP experience. They want to be with that academic peer group, and they want that rigorous, as I said, experience for their high school years. They can do that. We're not going to pull someone out of the class. But they're also going to have to recognize the fact that if they were in a Regents class and they were doing the same level of work, they would probably have a considerably higher grade. But kudos to them for working through it and challenging up. That is something that we do not deny students for. So again, those are admission guidelines. I did not put on there dual enrollment classes, but I know it came up, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the dual enrollment classes. The dual enrollment classes could be an honors class. It could be a Regents class. What it is it is a course where Riverhead High School has an articulation agreement with one of our state university or private colleges. Years ago, we had partnerships with Dowling, but Dowling is no longer in existence. But now we have moved all of our partnerships over to Stony Brook. They call it the ACE program, okay? And basically, these are courses where our high school teachers are qualified by State University of New York to teach the course, and provided the student meets a certain GPA at the end of the course, they can get college credit, Suny credit, from a Stony Brook on a Stony Brook transcript in addition to high school graduation credit. The students must pay for those. They're roughly $300 to $330 a class. And they usually have to pay either midway through the first quarter or by the end of the first quarter. There is the financial assistance is the fact that they drop the course, they drop the tuition, maybe to, maybe a third of what it would be if they were attending college as a matriculating college student. I'm going to move to the next slide.
Okay, so you answered the question, dual classes are offered, yes. And then the next question was, do you need to have a certain grade to take a dual enrollment classes? And I believe you answered that as well.
Thank you. Okay, I also like to talk a little bit about grade promotion requirements, okay? Now, this is something that a lot of people don't think about, and sometimes it becomes a bit of a surprise as they enter their upperclassmen years. And considering that we've got some folks here tonight that are current sophomores and others that are current juniors, the juniors are probably aware of this at this point, but the sophomores, maybe not so much. At Riverhead High School, now this is not a New York State, but this is a Riverhead Central School District Board of Education policy. In order for a student to move from grade 9 to grade 10 to become a sophomore in good standing, you must have earned at least 6 credits. Now, most of our students are taking 7 credits in 9th grade. So even if they weren't successful passing all their classes, they're still in the running to earn 6 credits. But let's say a student was taking 6 credits and they failed physical education in 9th grade. Now they're 5.5 credits. Well, technically, they are still a repeating freshman. They are still a repeating 9th grader. And when they get their ID card the first day of school, it's going to be a 9th grade freshman ID card. And we always get students that come down and say, hey, I'm confused. I don't understand. There's a mistake. And then once we look into it and look at their transcript, we say, I'm sorry, it's not a mistake, but you only had 5.5 credits in June. You did not take advantage of the summer school opportunity, which you could have gone to for free. And therefore you only have 5.5 credits. So you're a half credit shy. And then they say, well, can I make that up in like 1 quarter? Can I double up in gym and finish it in half a year? They can't. They're kind of hamstrung for the remainder of the year. It's not a big deal in 10th grade, but it becomes a much bigger deal come 11th grade. And I can't emphasize this enough, the importance. In order to be promoted to grade 11, a junior in good standing, students must have earned at least 12 credits. Okay, 12 credits. 11.5 will not suffice because this will not allow them, number one, open campus privileges. They will not be allowed to go out during their lunch periods with the other kids in their class if they are not juniors. And the security team will stop them as they try to go out the door, okay? And they will ask for their ID. And when they swipe their ID on our scan machines, it will come up that they're not a junior and they will not be allowed out. And that's a big deal for the students because that's something they're very excited about and they look forward to. It's kind of a coming of age privilege, and it's very disappointing when that's taken away from them. Another thing that is very upsetting is they could risk losing a Boces placement, all right? In order to get into an OC-Ed program or a Boces program, students must maintain a 90% attendance, which means they can't have more than 18 absences the year before, and they must be a junior in good standing. They must have earned 12 credits. Now, if they were unsuccessful, but they make it up in summer school between their 10th grade and 11th grade year, that's fine. We'll accept that. We want the kids to get those credits. We do not want to block them. But if they don't pass and they don't go to summer school, it's out of our control. There's nothing we can do about it. So very important for you parents of rising juniors. Be aware of this because it could have big implications come next year. They need to have earned 12 credits. And then to move into 12th grade, to be a senior, a student must have earned at least 18 credits. So You could be a junior who should have been a senior, but you were shy a couple of credits, but you're doubling up in some things in your senior year, which kind of takes some fun out of senior year because now you're going to school periods 1 through 8, pushing forward, real hard to get those credits so you can graduate on time with your class. Because if a student does not make the graduation requirements, they are not permitted to walk at our graduation ceremony. We go through this every year. Riverhead High School, we do not have a commencement ceremony. We have a graduation ceremony. So in order to participate, you must be in line to graduate.
Okay, I just want to go back and catch up on 3 quick ones. Are current juniors taking SATs in the spring?
Yes, they took them in the fall. They were offered in the fall. And as of now, I believe the next SAT is March 18th, I believe.
Will the sophomore students be given the opportunity to take the pre-SAT because it was canceled for them?
The sophomore students were not scheduled to take the PSAT this year. They were actually scheduled to take the pre-ACT this year. And yes, we are still planning on giving that later this spring once we get through the inclement weather.
Do students who receive free lunch pay for AP exams?
No.
And then just another quick one before we move on.
Well, hold on a second. Let
Okay.
me clarify that. I don't want to give misinformation. In the past, if a student was on a free and reduced lunch list, they did not pay for an AP exam. This past year, there have been some changes where more and more students have been granted free and reduced lunch status. So if a student had been on the free and reduced lunch list last year, they would not pay for an AP exam this year. If they were not on the free and reduced lunch list last year, they'd have to write a letter to me and we would have a discussion, a private discussion, just myself with the parent or guardian.
And then just another quick one, $300 to $330 per class or per credit for the dual enrollment?
Per class. And that's usually anywhere between 3 credits. If it's a 4-credit class, like we have some Syracuse courses that are 4 credits, then there would be another $110 on top of that. So it could be $440, but they're getting an additional credit.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, high school scheduling timeline. We are officially in the scheduling season. It is something that we run through the guidance office in conjunction with our academic supervisors at Riverhead High School and Riverhead Middle School. So starting earlier this week, academic subject area teachers, math, social studies, science, English, and world languages all started to submit online course recommendations for their students. Now, folks, we understand it's very early and we are almost a month ahead of schedule, and we are doing that purposely so we give ourselves as much runway as possible in case of any type of instructional interruptions. But please understand, the teachers are putting in recommendations and they know there's only 1 quarter of grades posted. We don't even have the 2nd quarter grades yet. It is tentative, okay? And if you go to the high school webpage or the high school guidance webpage, I have underneath where I had the little statement about this meeting where I included the webinar ID number and the passcode. There was a live link for a scheduling letter. And that letter is also on Guidance Counselor's Google Classrooms. It is a very detailed letter about the scheduling plans. And if you haven't read it yet, I would encourage you to please read it. I'm going to leave it up there for the next 6 weeks. Okay, but there's good information in it, and it really, in case you have a question after this, you want to refer to it, you can do so. Teachers are putting in recommendations for the kids now, but you know what? I want you to understand they're subject to change. We understand that maybe a student did not have the best start in school, and we're not gonna pigeonhole somebody off their 1st quarter grades. We are willing to entertain adjustments and requests through the end of May. Okay, so I know we're doing it, but we have to do it to get a baseline of courses, because for the most part, they pretty much stay where they are. But we do have outliers, and we recognize that. And we want students to set a goal for themselves and say, you know what, they put me up for a certain level class, but I really want that honors class. And I spoke to Miss So-and-so or Mr. So-and-so, and he told me that he thinks I could do it, but I'm a little bit shy. And then, then let's get it going. And then we'll have that conversation in a couple of weeks, and we'll see how the grades go after the second quarter. Or if a parent or guardian wants to call me or the guidance counselor and speak about it, we can discuss that as well. I just don't want anyone to think, because we're starting early and the teachers are making the recommendations, that we do that in any way. Are we going to harm a student that wants to challenge up? Okay. Starting tomorrow, the guidance counselors are posting scheduling videos on their high school Google Classrooms, and I will have them on the guidance webpage. Okay. And this is for students to see exactly how to fill out the Google form whereby they select their electives. So the scheduling process is twofold. The academic teachers in the 5 core subject areas are putting in student recommendations for next year's academic subjects. As far as electives go, the students are putting in and selecting the electives themselves, as well as phys ed classes on the guidance counselors' Google Classrooms by completing a 4-page Google form. Very simple. Click and move to the next page. Click and move to the next page. We also have questions on there if the students are interested in participating in Boces next year. We will be having a virtual field trip coming up in February for Boces. I've gotten a date, but I haven't gotten the actual virtual webinar information, but it's going to be for parents and for students. And as soon as I get that, I'm going to blast that out to everybody, and we're going to get everyone involved in it. But we still want to get an interest. So we've included a question. Are you interested in Boces next year on the Google form? And we've done the same thing for the Suffolk Community Early College program, because we have a program, and I'll talk about it in a minute, where our juniors and seniors can get bused over to Suffolk, and they can take courses at Suffolk during the school day for 1/4 of regular Suny tuition. So it's like $60 a credit. It's a fantastic deal. I call it the secret scholarship. I have students that graduate Riverhead High School with 30 Suny credits from Suffolk on a Suffolk transcript, okay? These are not dual enrollment courses. These are college courses taught by college professors at the Eastern Campus. So we'll talk about a little bit more about that, but that's what I consider, that's outside programming. So even though the students have to test into that program and have to still qualify for Boces, we are getting interest because we start to put lists together so we can forecast how many students are interested in moving into these programs for next year. So basically from January 19th through February 12th, the students will be selecting the courses on the Google Classrooms, and starting on January 20th through January 20th, January 27th, February 3rd, and February 10th. Those are Wednesdays, and as you know, I like to call them, they are virtual Wednesdays at the high school. I have set up a schedule, and they are going to be, that's going to be posted tomorrow on the website. We just wanted to get through this, and it's also going to be on all the Google Classrooms, and the guidance counselors will be inviting the students. We have scheduled student meetings. Okay, I call these open campus meetings. Okay, we're talking mostly about scheduling, but it's also a small group meeting where there might be 2 or 3 other students. It'll be a virtual meeting. There, we're gonna have a set time on a Wednesday when they're gonna log in, and they're gonna log in with the students in their English class. But that doesn't mean that we're not available for individual meetings. Or meetings with parents, whether they be live in our offices or in our conference room, if we have enough people that we want to move to a larger location to socially distance, to keep everyone safe. Or if our parents want to have a virtual meeting on a Google Meet, we can do that as well with the student. So we're willing to work with our families in any, size and shape that we need to make it happen. And those are going to be happening too. But even if nothing is done on your part, your child is going to be scheduled a virtual Wednesday meeting with the guidance counselor. It's going to be small group, and they're going to have 45 minutes to an hour to discuss anything that's going on, from graduation requirements, 4-year plans, outside programming, student scheduling, course selections, electives, really anything and everything. I don't call it just a scheduling meeting because it's a bigger meeting than that. It's a bigger meeting. Although the focus is obviously the scheduling, we can go beyond that. And we do it in small groups because many times some students are more vocal than others. Some students don't like to talk so much. Some students like to talk a lot, but we learn from one another. We learn from other kids ask questions that the other kids might be thinking or maybe haven't quite thought of yet, or thought of it last week but forgot about it come the meeting, so we can learn from one another. But as I said, we are ready, willing, and excited to entertain individual meetings with students and parents as well. So I don't want anyone to think that we're not doing that. Any questions at this point, Mr. O'Hara?
Yes, so let's just recap. You did mention what to do if you're interested in Boces. Does the Boces credits, do they count towards elective credits?
Yes, but I'm going to talk a little bit more in depth about Boces in a minute.
Okay.
When I get to the next slide. I
Okay.
also want to add in there the plan, and I have it as a hard date, but it might be a little bit, or I might be a little earlier than that, or it might be a day or two after that. But let's figure the end of March, student course selections will be mailed home. Okay, we're not going to email these. They're going to be mailed home on paper in a letter where I describe the course selection process and the next steps. They're mailed home to families. And then the families can have a discussion amongst themselves, or we will invite you to come in and meet with the guidance counselors, or phone conversations, or virtual meetings through the computers. And if you are not in agreement with the courses that have been selected, now remember, the electives are selected by your child, and the academic courses are selected by the teachers. But if there's some disagreement or some misunderstanding, or you want to go in another direction, we will invite those conversations. And just so you're aware, we are open to make course adjustments through the end of May. Okay, so you get those at the end of March. We still got 2 months if you're not satisfied with something. And many times we can make the change right on the spot. Many times maybe we'll say, okay, we'll make the change, but let's look at when the third quarter grades come in. Everything's a little bit different, but I just want you to know that we really pride ourselves on working with the families, and the more information we get from you, the better product we can put out for the students. And we really want to get it right out of the gate. I do not like when we have incorrect schedules come September. That is really not acceptable as far as I'm concerned. So we strive very hard. We'd rather do the deep dive now and get to the bottom of this and get to an agreement and figure out where we're going to go. And again, we're going to talk about electives in a little while. And sometimes we sign up for an elective and then it turns out the elective doesn't run. That's why we ask for alternates. We don't want to just put a student into any old class. We want to say, okay, this is my first choice, but if I can't get this, I'm okay with that. And then we want to put you into that as opposed to putting you into something the student has no interest in, because that serves nobody.
Mr. Gassar?
Yes, sir.
I know you're going to talk more about Boces. Just can you submit the request early for Boces? Is it a first come or first come, first served acceptance?
No. We have a deadline to receive Boces applications. I believe it's March 26th is what stands out in my mind right now. No, it doesn't. If you give it to us the first day that they're available, it does not put you at the top of the pile or at the bottom of the pile. The only thing that I will say is we do stand by the deadline. If you give it to us after the deadline, there's no guarantee you're going to get in. Sometimes we're able to get a student in if other students drop out, but if other students don't drop out, I can't get them in. So we believe me, I will send letters home. I will send phone calls home. I will send texts and emails home. We give a lot of reminders about how important it is to get those applications in, because once we get the number of students that apply, I in turn give that number over to our business office at the district office. And then that is part of their creation of the district budget. So in order to be, fiscally prudent, we really need to get our numbers straight. So we're not looking to knock anybody out, but if they don't get the application in on time, that could pose a problem. Not always, but sometimes. Okay. All right, moving along. Going to talk a little bit about offerings. I'm not going to get into the details of each course. What I'm going to ask you to do on that is to, once again, refer to the course offering book. This is available on our website. Okay, this is the 2021-2022 course offering booklet. Inside of that, it has a detailed description of all electives. If there is a prerequisite to take an elective, in other words, to take a next level or level 2 art class, you usually have to complete the studio and art elective. Sometimes creative crafts will suffice, not always, but the details, there are just too many electives to get into that tonight. The details are all laid out in the course offering booklet. It's available online. We've had the new one up probably for the last month, but if you go to the guidance webpage, not the high school webpage, the guidance webpage, it's on the left-hand side. It's a live link and you can open it up. So for art offerings next year, we are planning on offering and we are sourcing our students to take studio art, drawing and painting, crafts 1 or 2, ceramics, photo, computer graphics, filmmaking, and we offer 2 AP courses. Now, AP studio art, we pretty much run every year. AP art history, we tend to run that every other year, only because we have so few kids that take it. It's hard to justify having a full-time teacher in a class if I only have 3 kids. We recognize that's a niche class. So if we offer it every other year, we can usually get it up to 7 or 8 students. And even though that's a very low number, we will run that class with a low number of students because we recognize it's a real boutique course and a very specialized student that is taking that course. We have a growing business education program, and next year we will be offering career financial management. That runs either every other day or for a semester, and we like to button that up against the digital generation business course. So one might be offered in the fall, the other in the spring, or if it doesn't work that way, we'll do alternate days where it'll be A days and B days. So one day you'll have digital, one day career, one day digital, career throughout the remainder of the year. Accounting and marketing are full year courses, and we're excited about getting that accounting course up. We haven't had it in a couple of years, so hopefully this year is going to be the one that we can launch that again. And we also offer a work study program. And I don't know who's familiar with work study, but this is a fantastic program that we have that students can earn up to 2 high school elective credits, provided they sign up and they get approved to be part of our work study program. So this could be a student who's working. Now they have to be working on the books because they have to be showing us pay stubs, and our work study coordinator goes to their job site, meets with their employer, and over the course of the year, they might meet with them on several different occasions to verify how the student's doing, and the students have to submit their not their timesheets, but their pay stubs or copies of them so that they can verify how many hours, and then contingent upon how many hours the student has worked, that can result in how many credits they get. And if you want more information with that, again, I'm going to refer you back to the course offering booklet. It's all detailed there under our business education program. English electives. Now, I want to be cautious when I describe this. All of our academic subject areas offer electives. However, English and social studies, the state requires that our students take 4 years of those courses. For math and science, they only have to take 3 years or 3 credits. But for English and social studies, it's 4 credits, 4 years. Therefore, the English and social studies electives cannot be used for core academic credit. They're used for elective credit. In math and science, they can be used for core academic credit. I hope I'm clear with that, but if I'm not, just put a question up and I'll try to rephrase it. So if a student wants to take journalism in 11th grade or 12th grade, they have to take it while they're co-enrolled with English 11 or English 12. That's basically what I'm saying. Same thing with creative writing, public speaking, dramatic literature, literature of the supernatural, communication writing, women's history, and the film class. These are all 1 semester courses, meaning they are alternate day or 1 semester electives. Therefore, if a student has a free period to take electives, they could take literature of the supernatural in the fall and journalism in the spring, or vice versa, or any mix of any of those courses. Or they could take a business course in the fall and dramatic literature in the spring. So they can mix and match. And those are the kinds of things that they'll work out with their guidance counselor. And if they have any real specific questions, they can bring it up at our open campus meetings on virtual Wednesdays, or by simply coming in and seeing their guidance counselor. And by the way, they can see their guidance counselors on the days they're in the building or a day they're not in the building. If they schedule an appointment, they can come in and meet with the guidance counselor, even if they don't have classes that day. Okay. And we've been entertaining that all year long. Family Consumer Science, we have 3 courses available for our juniors and seniors next year. Food, Nutrition, and Wellness is basically the entry-level course for food and kitchen safety. We also have International Cuisine, which is kind of the accelerated or advanced program for Family Consumer Science, and Baking and Pastry. We also have a flourishing NJROTC program. That course can be offered 1 credit or half credit. We have fantastic instructors that are full-time teachers at the high school, but they're also still part of the military, and one of them is through the Navy and one of them is through the Marines. But they're fantastic individuals, and they really will jump through any hoop or will reach get over any bar necessary to make their program work within the confines of a student's schedule. So if somebody's interested in NJROTC and it doesn't seem like we're going to make it work, if I talk to Captain Lachlan or Sergeant Mahala, they are fantastic, and they will always try to go through heck or high water to make it work for the student. Math electives. I talked a little bit about math electives, and keep in mind, these courses can be used as 1 or 2 of the 3 credits they need to graduate. Okay, this differs than English and social studies. So the math electives that you see here are statistics, the computer science. It's 9, 10. That means that it's for 9th and 10th graders. It's not like a part 1 and a part 2. It's the same course, but we really think it's prudent to keep our 17, 18-year-olds, just for maturity reasons, separated from our 14, 15-year-olds. Okay, so that would be the example of the computer science. The AP computer science principles would be the lesser rigor of the 2 AP computer science classes. So many times we've got students that are taking those computer science. They take the computer science principles. They take computer science in 10th or 11th grade. Then they take the AP computer science, maybe in 11th or 12th grade, the principles. And then if they're still up for it, they'll take the computer science A in their senior year. And then scientific computing was usually a class that's taken by juniors and seniors. But we like to have you get through the other computer science class, the AP computer science first. But if you have questions on them, again, I refer you to the course offering booklet. It's all detailed there, much more than I'm kind of just giving you an overview tonight. Science electives. Anthropology, we talked about our dual enrollment courses, and that's an example of one. Stony Brook University, it's ACE. Students can take that for 3 or 4 credits. They can also get high school credit for it. There is no lab attached to any of these courses, so they're quite easy to schedule and fit into student schedules. Then we have obviously forensics, marine bio, astronomy, meteorology, environmental science, prevention of athletic injuries, and a science research, which is an independent course. They only meet several times a year, and they're really working independently with one of our science teachers, who is also coordinated, by the way, to Albany, State University, Albany. Social studies electives. Now, again, they cannot use these for social studies credits. The students still have to take the 4, preset social studies courses that the state has mandated. However, in addition to those, they could co-enroll with African American Literature and History. That is an alternate day course. Council for Unity, also an alternate day course. Criminal justice, same thing. And then the psychology and the abnormal psychology. Psychology is offered the first half of the year, abnormal psych the second half of the year. They are half credit courses, but usually the student that starts psych finishes in abnormal and they earn a full credit at the end of the year. And then we also have History of Long Island, another dual enrollment course through Stony Brook University, where students can get credit at reduced tuition, college credit at reduced tuition. Technology courses for next year, we'll be offering residential structures, design and drawing. We also call it D&D. That also substitutes for an art requirement for New York State. Engineering, Robotics 1 and Robotics 2. Course descriptions, again, in the course offering booklet. I mentioned the Suffolk Community Early College Program early, and I will just give you a quick overview on that one. We're very proud of this program, and we're very lucky to have this program. It has been incredibly successful over the past 12 years that we've offered it. One of the reasons that we're so successful is because of our geographics. We are in Riverhead. They are in Riverhead. Therefore, we are able to bus our students in the mornings over to the Eastern Campus. Now, this is obviously barring no closures next year, okay? And they get on the Eastern Campus and then they disperse and they can take any courses that Suffolk is offering during the morning hours between 8 o'clock and 9:20. Then the students get back on the bus at 9:25 and we get them back here for their fourth period class, excuse me. These courses do not count as graduation credits on the diploma. Busing is provided, not mandated. Some of our students drive. That's okay. Suffolk's okay with that. We're okay with that. But the great news is credits are 1/4 the regular cost for Riverhead High School students. Again, the secret scholarship. In order to be invited to this program, they must apply for this program. So I run the program through the guidance office in conjunction with Mr. Charles Connolly at the Eastern Campus. We will be sending out letters to see who has interest and who's qualified. The general baseline is students need an 80 unweighted average through their end of their sophomore year. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll take their ninth grade grades and then we figure out their average moving into, say, the second or third quarter of their 10th grade year. And then if they have an 80 unweighted, they get a letter inviting them to come to the parent night, learn about the program, and then they would have to take a placement test at the college, an online multiple choice, non-timed placement test in math and reading. And if they pass it, and most of our students do pass it, we probably have about a 98% pass rate, but sometimes they don't for different reasons. And then they would be invited to take advantage of the program their junior and or senior years. Boces. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you want to go back to the?
Yeah, just quickly while you're on that, can you give an idea of what point in the year that you will hold that parent meeting and student meeting for early college program?
Yeah, it'll be March this year. We usually do it late February, early March, but because of the closures, we'll definitely push it back to March this year.
And do you know when the entrance exams usually take place?
Yeah, they usually take place in April or May, depending. I usually have to work them around the AP exams, so we usually end up taking those the placement after the AP exams conclude in late May. So what we do is, and I don't know if we'll be able to do it this year because of the closure, but if not, the students will do it from home on their computers. What we like to do, we make a field trip out of it. The kids come to school, we take a bus over to the Eastern Campus. They get a campus tour by campus tour guides, and they see all the buildings and everything it has to offer. And then they bring them up to the bursar's office, and they go into a computer lab, and they take the test right on the spot. And as soon as they take the test, they go into the waiting room, and then guidance counselors call them in individually and give them their scores. So when they leave that day, they know if in fact they passed, and they can take the courses. And then the guidance counselors tell them what courses are available, and they say, look, we're going to sign you up for the course right now, but there's no obligation. You don't pay for anything till the first day of classes or at the end of August. And but we want to make sure that you have a seat if you choose to do it. So it's kind of, again, no harm, no foul. Our kids sign up for it. If they choose not to do it, it's not a problem. They don't do it, but this way there's a seat for them if they do.
Okay, and so they do need to take the test. You can't use an SAT in lieu of it or anything like that.
Nope. It's the same placement test that everyone takes if they're applying to Suffolk and they have not met the minimum SAT or ACT scores.
Thank you.
Okay, Boces. Again, I spoke about needing 12 credits prior to the beginning of the program in order to take to be considered for Boces. We also need 90% attendance, which means students with once they cross 19 absences, they will disqualify themselves. And that goes for a student who is a repeating student. In other words, Boces has 1-year programs and 2-year programs. All of the credits that kids earn at Boces are applied towards elective credits. Okay. The way that it is working this year is that on Thursday morning, Boces is running a webinar for guidance counselors all over Suffolk County. Every one of my guidance counselors and your guidance counselors will be attending that. I will be as well. And then I believe on February 4th, they're going to be doing a student webinar during the day and in the evening. And in the evening, the parents will be invited to attend as well. That is what has been shared with me thus far. I believe that they did put some posters out and the guidance counselors have been posting them on their Google Classrooms, but they haven't given us the meeting details. So I can't tell you exactly what the Zoom meeting ID is and what the passcode is. That is forthcoming, but it should be here, I would say within the next week or two. And once we get it, we will get it out to you. I promise you, it'll be on a school messenger call. We'll blast it out on emails. We'll have it on the website. We'll have it on the counselors' Google Classrooms. We'll have posters around the building. You'll know about it. Any other Boces questions? I know there were a couple earlier.
Yes, there are. So Ms. Donahue says the Boces open house, they will have info to you at RHS very soon. She's on the committee and they are working on it. Question, so as long as they apply on time, they get into Boces?
Well, they are qualified to apply to Boces. Boces has a screening process. Boces will, once a student applies to Boces, they're basically waiving the right for us to send information. So they want to see their report cards, their transcripts, and their discipline. Okay. So sometimes a student may be applying for a certain program that is an incredibly rigorous program, and Boces will look at it and they will be the ones who determine and say, you know what, this student has yet to pass such and such a class. Even though they've got the credits and good attendance and we know they're a good citizen, there's no problems, without taking this class, we can't allow them to go into this program. But what I like about it is they'll always come back with a nice alternative and they'll say, well, we can't recommend you for program A, but you know what? How about program B or program C? And if they do well in program B, they could reapply the following year. So sometimes, not all the time, but most of the time, there are alternate pathways to get a student into the program that they want. Not always, but most of the time. But that we have nothing to do with that. They tell us what the requirements are, and we follow what they say. That they're the ones determining that.
Okay, if a child is struggling under the current pandemic and wants to do Boces, but they're having a lot of difficulty with remote learning, how does that affect them?
Well, I think it would depend upon, do they have the attendance and have they earned the credits? They have to have 12 credits. There's never been any waiver on that from the district. So I guess if a student had a very unique situation, that would be a unique and individual conversation between the parent and the guidance counselor, and then ultimately between myself and Mr. O'Hara.
For clarification, does Boces only give you elective credits towards graduation?
Yes, we only accept them for elective credits.
Okay. Want an AP course selection question quick? Is AP Physics Calculus based?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that?
I
Can
think
you
we
say that
may
again,
have,
please?
yes, Mr. O'Hara, we lost your audio.
Okay, I'm back. I'm going to blank my screen out and ask, I have one final question in here for now. Is AP Physics Calculus based being offered next year?
Well, I don't know of the course AP Physics Calculus based. We offer AP Physics 1, AP Physics 2, and AP Physics C. Are you referring to AP Physics C? That's what I'm
I believe
guessing.
they are.
Yeah, it should be.
Okay. Will Boces still provide an alternate pathway to the Advanced Regents Diploma?
Yes. And if you refer to the course offering booklet in the beginning of it, under Boces Ed and under graduation requirements, we outline how students can use CTE credits or career technical education credits towards a sequence to substitute for the world languages.
Okay, I have no more open questions.
Okay, I'm going to move to the next slide. This is going to kind of conclude our presentation. The next two slides, what I put together here are sample schedules of what a student schedule might look like. And I put a sample region schedule, an accelerated honors schedule, and a student that is involved with outside programming. So if you look at the regions, you see an English 11, a US history, the forensics, remember that is no lab, that's an elective, but because it's science, they can use that for science credit, not just elective credit. Algebra 2, that would be the third year Regents, the third course, I should say, the third Regents exam for math. A period of lunch. Level 4, world language. Many of those level 4 classes, students have the opportunity to take dual enrollment classes through Stony Brook. Fantastic opportunity. All juniors take health. Health is mandated. Some districts offer it in 10th grade. We offer it in 11th grade. It is mandated, and it is a half year or every other day course. It could easily fit, A, B day with phys ed on and off. And then a student would have room for one elective of their choice. An accelerated honors class. Now this is getting into some AP classes. And here you have, remember, this is our juniors. So they'd be taking AP language and composition. That's the writing class. I think that's a fantastic class. We have great results in that class with the AP exams, and your children will come out being much, much better writers than when they start. AP US history. We also offer a US honors course. If maybe the AP US is a little too much for a student, maybe they're interested more in science and math with the AP, but they still want to stick with the humanities in an accelerated or enriched program. So US honors is a nice substitute, not nearly as rigorous as the AP, but certainly an enriched experience over the traditional US history 11th grade course. SUPA Forensics, that stands for Syracuse Project Advance. That is a dual enrollment course offered at the high school in conjunction with Syracuse University. It's about either $333 or $444. I can't remember if it's a 3 or 4 credit course. I believe it's a 4 credit course, but a couple of years back it wasn't, but I think they changed it. In any event, so that would be something that you'd have to pay for in order to stay in that course. Then we have under there pre-calculus. We used to refer to that course as Math 12. That is the class that a student would take after they completed Algebra 2, but prior to going to the AP calculus offerings. We like to see our students with a period of lunch and to stay with the world languages. So here we would have either the AP French or the AP Spanish, or they would be taking one of the level 4 or maybe level 5 classes. That could be a dual enrollment with with Stony Brook. And then again, health and phys ed, those are mandated, and room for an elective. A student who's doing an outside program, what does it look like if I go to Boces? Well, the fact is it comes in some different shapes and sizes because we offer AM Boces programs and PM Boces programs. But for demonstration purposes, tonight I put in a schedule that makes that addresses what an AM Boces program is. Period of English, 3 periods of Boces over at HB Ward. So the students would come in, they'd go to a first period class, then they'd go and get on a bus right at the back platform by the auditorium, take them across the parking lot to the HB Ward campus. They would be there for our periods 2, 3, and 4. They would then return, go right into their period 5 class. They would have, obviously phys ed and health. They got a math and a science class. Now, what's different about that outside program? You're going to notice it. There's no lunch on it, okay? Because when a student goes to Boces in their junior year, they usually, not always, but usually don't have room for lunch. However, they do get a 15 to 20 minute break at the Boces campus. There is a cafeteria there if they want to buy food, but it's not a formal lunch period like they're used to having as 10th graders. Again, when you go to outside programs, sometimes there's a give involved. The students know that beforehand, but that's kind of what it takes. Now, once they get to their senior year and the requirements relax because they don't need 4 years of math or they don't need 4 years of science. So that might free them up a little bit where they could get a lunch period or they could get a late arrival or they could get an early dismissal. Moving to the 12th grade schedules. You see here again, Regents Accelerated Honors and Outside and AP. And we have English 12, the ECHO and participation in government is the social studies 12. Put in there a non-lab science, a computer science 11, 12, a full lunch period, level 4 language. Health phys ed, that could be in there if they failed to take it or they weren't able to pass it. That's when they would make that up. I like to put that in so people can see we don't double up on courses until the senior year, okay? And then they would have room for an elective. For the same thing with the accelerated honors programs, I put this in because I added the Suffolk Early College program in there, but someone might be looking at it saying, what is blended English and Social Studies 12? That is a course that was designed around our early college program, where we got state approval to offer English and Social Studies in a 1-period class every other day. It's not an honors program. It is an accelerated program, okay? It's basically the same curriculum that they'd be getting in a Regents class, except it's accelerated because they're only meeting half the number of days. A day would be Social Studies, B days would be English, and so on and so forth. But it works beautifully because it allows our students to get, as seniors, get into the early college program and not take away a lunch period from the kids, okay? So that's why I have that blended. We do allow students who are not in the early college program to go into the blended program too, but we like to see that they, that they have, it's not a student that, we don't take this as a remedial course because it is accelerated. There's a lot of independent work, and for what they don't make in class time, they're making up on independent time. So a student would need, you're looking at probably an 85 average in a Regents class to be qualified for that course. And if you were below that, we'd have to have a discussion about it. 4th period there, after the college, they come back, the early college, we see a math class. I put in pre-calc, a lunch, again, an AP Spanish or French class or a dual enrollment class. And then period 7 and 8 would be a phys ed, a health, or an elective. And then for an AP student, you'd be looking at what are our offerings for seniors. Traditionally, they are AP Literature, AP Government, which is a half-year class. That then goes half-year AP Gov and a half-year SUPA Public Affairs. Also, there could be AP Calculus. The students can take either the AP Calc AB or the most rigorous of the math classes. They're both extremely rigorous, by the way, the AP Calc BC. Okay, there were 2 levels in that at that point. They could be taking AP Chemistry that has a lab attached to it that would alternate with phys ed. They'd have a lunch period, and then they could have an AP French, and they could take an elective for 8th period. Any questions on sample schedules for students?
Yes, Mr. Casaro, just confirm that, I'm going to blank my screen out. Hold on. Sorry.
Okay.
Just confirm that for the blended course, they're going to get 1 credit for English and 1 credit for Social Studies.
Confirmed. Yes. Absolutely.
That's all I have in the Q&A right now.
And all of these courses and all of these programs are carefully and thoughtfully detailed in the course offering booklet. And if you go on to the guidance webpage, I have sections for each of these outside programs, okay? So you can read up on it, and if you want more information about it, call me on the phone, send me an email, or come in and say hello. We'll sit down, we'll have a cup of coffee, and we'll talk about the whole program. I love when people come in and visit me. So please, it's an open door. You're welcome to. Your guidance counselor won't be offended. I'll let them know. Maybe we'll invite them in for part of the meeting, or just a quick phone conversation. Whatever works best for you. The more information you have up front as we start this scheduling experience and this process, the better served the kids are going to be, the better served the building is going to be, and the happier you're going to be. Any other questions, Mr. O'Hara?
Somebody had a question that might be a great suggestion for the future. Is there an AP blended?
No, and we cannot create that because we have to follow what AP offers.
Great.
All right.
I got two more. Somebody, thank you so much. This was so informative. Two more. Thank you so much, Ms. Silver, Ms. Donahue. Thank you both for attending and being with us tonight.
Yeah, and we'll have this up on the website as promised. Hopefully by tomorrow, if not the following morning.
Mr. Gassar, do you know? So the question was, can Boces be done during the summertime?
No.
Okay, I think we're good.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for coming out. And again, if you want to reach me, my email is charles.gassar. That's G-A, S as in Sam, S as in Sam, A-R @riverhead.net. Or you can call me at the guidance office at 369-6730. As I said, phone conversations, virtual meetings, or face-to-face meetings with masks on. I'll be happy to entertain any of them. And please, any question, there's no question too big, no question too small. I'll be happy to hear from you. Thank you very much for coming out tonight. And I'd say safe home, but I'm assuming everyone's home. So I'll just say good night.
Good night.
Okay. Good night, everybody.